Hello, this is my week 11 presentation. On week 6, I touched the risk management on a Peruvian TV network. On this case, I wanted to touch the procurement management on the same network and how they need to hire independent production companies for certain services. The case is, like I mentioned, ProTV, which is a company who is hired for commercial purposes. They make fiction and they also make reality shows. So in this case, America Televisión, which is the Peruvian TV network, hires and procures ProTV with certain terms and conditions to obtain from them the final product, which is this case, which is a competition reality show named EEG. So the first documentation that I wanted to touch was the requirement documentation. This is really important because we're going to find out better what are the requirements the stakeholders need from the project, and also the customers and the possible final users. So this is very important to highlight the technical and non-technical information. So like you see in the slides, there are 5 key points. The first one being the business requirements, which is the project objectives and what it needs to be delivered to the network from ProTV. So in this case, is to create a reality show. This may have some deadline or not, so you can just put that in the business documentation. Stakeholder requirements, like I mentioned, the requirements that the stakeholders may need from the project. Stakeholder can be from the executives to the investors to even the final users. Solution requirements is certain functionalities and characteristics that the show may need to complete. In our case, for example, needs to be a show of 2 hours. Needs to be a show that's PG-13, or it needs to be a show that can't project content from alcohol or cigarettes. So certain specific characteristics that need to be written down to avoid any future problems. The project requirements, which is processes and conditions that the project needs to meet. So for example, the show, it's going to air on a specific date. In this case, it could be on the 11th of January. And also, we need to touch the amount of people who are going to be procured, in a way, the employees, the workers. And also the quality requirements, which in television is mostly measured by rating. What we call rating, because according to rating is how successful is a show, and then that's how you get the final advertisement to help you on your income and on your budget. Second document, which is really important, is the resource management documents. These are really important because we're touching the resource requirements, the resource management plan, and the estimated activity resources. We need to understand what resources are in the project to see how much personnel do we need, what material do we need. Later I want to talk about the make or buy analysis, but it's really important to understand how to allocate the resources, because being a television network, they also have their own employees that can work with ProTV, which is an independent production company, but you can allocate your resources from the network to work in the same show, but they may need some talent which the network doesn't have and the independent production company does have. So that's something to understand a lot from the resource management process. The contract type that usually on television they have is the time and material. Why is this? Because television is a very changing format of entertainment. So of course the employees work on an hourly rate. They work from their 9 to 5 shift. Sometimes they work more at night, but they need to deliver a project for 2 hours on television, and that's the final resort So of course you're paying someone by the hourly rate, but sometimes the project extends the time you need to allocate your work to, and usually extra time is not paid in television. Also, why is it so changing with time and material? Because a show could have a deadline, but that deadline could change if the show is doing pretty good. The deadline could be pushed to have more good quality content on television, but if the show is not doing good, the show may even get canceled prior to the initial date they had. Another thing, especially another case, is the constant innovation of the games. They may need to create a new game, they may need to take out maybe a new game that was being too dangerous, they may need to create a new game to generate some expectancy, some expectation. So that you should send a formal change request to the stakeholders asking for money and to go for the construction and the build of these games. Usually this cost comes from the overhead and from the contingency, because usually when you plan from the beginning you think that those games are just enough and it's going to get a good quality content, but sometimes they need to change and you may need to hire more people to construct a new game. The most used contract terms and conditions right now, mostly used on television, are number one, the ownership, the famous copyright, which all the creative industries and entertainment industries have, because here they need to settle down who is the sole owner of the project, who is going to be the one who's going to get the rights of the project after it finished airing on television. Usually it's the network. Usually when you see the final credits, it's a co-production of America and Pro TV. Indemnities here is really important because being a competition reality physical show, the insurance needs to be covered not only for the competitors but also for the crew, because like I mentioned prior, they're building games and sometimes they're very dangerous and you never know. Cameras and televisions are really big, the lights also, so accidents may happen. Usually in the entertainment business, the insurance is covered by the television network, who is the one who has the payrolls, who is the one who has the years of experience and salaries, and this also helps later attract the better resources, because when you offer somebody good quality insurance, not only for their health, also for their family, that attracts really good resources and personnel to the company. The second most used contract term, no, the third, sorry, is force majeure, which is something that right now would have worked a lot on the pandemic on certain contracts. I know that some television network do it, others don't, which is in case of a pandemic, in case of a natural disaster, etc., you can finalize the contract and not need to keep paying the independent producing company for something that they're not bringing. So the show EEG has been paralyzed for around 3 months due to the pandemic. They mentioned that one part of their contracts they had this force majeure clause where they simply stopped productions and didn't pay more Pro TV. So of course the executives, the producers were losing money, but which worried more was the people who really depended on that, who were the technical department, which wins money, but they bring that money to the table and to feed their families. So it's really complicated times, but it's something that the network does to also think on their budget, because they can't be paying a production company for something they're not bringing to live television. The other contract term and condition, the fourth, is the warranties, because warranties, I'm not like special legal advisor on the television, but this is usually measured by the worker unions and also by the ratings in a way. Good quality, everybody wants to work with good quality content. So, of course, the worker unions for the television production, they ask the televisions to have a certain type of quality to lend them their workers and not go all like syndicalized and everything. So America needs to have their warranty that Pro TV is going to give a good quality content. So then the rating measurement is what they want for advertisement, and also the workers unions don't start criticizing that their workers, the people who put the effort, are working on not a good quality content. So the warranty to produce quality content is necessary in every TV show. And also the fifth, it's time is of essence, especially on a television show, and especially on when you need to air live. So you already have destined your 2 hours on your television schedule to project and to air that show. So Pro TV can't have any delays, and they need to solve any problems and give the product on the time that they need to give it, because the product goes live. Any delays can affect the final cost, can affect the quality, can affect everything. Make or buy decision is really something important in television, because of course TV networks have their own studios. They can make certain things, for example the news, for example the TV studios you see on Mad Men or Breaking Bad, etc. But sometimes they may need to allocate their production, find an independent production company to make. In our case, it's Pro TV, which usually they pitched the idea to America and they're doing a co-production. Usually they also share the funds in a way. Of course, that America covers more money because they are the big company, but Pro TV also has their own money, and usually they share funds, and usually that is done from America, because when it's a new show they don't risk the 100% of budget, and also Pro TV requires that in a way to not lose the sole copyright of everything. Just source selection, analysis, and criteria. It's something very funny and tricky in this industry, because a public request for information, or public request for bid or for query, is not necessarily made. You usually get to the executive due to contacts. We'll go to the entertainment industry. So when you reach the executives through contacts and through friends, there you pitch your idea. To just for formalization, they do kind of like a public request in a way, but usually they pick a qualification only and sole source, because it's like a mixture of this, because they want to have, of course, the best production company, and they trust their friend who is bringing this producer. So they know that if their friend who works in quality content television is bringing someone, they know this is going to be quality content. But also that tends to be like a semi sole source, because there are not other options for it, they're just picking the one their friend is recommending in a way. And so for selection criteria that you mostly see in the entertainment industry is product cost and life cycle cost. Like I mentioned, budget is really important. So how much is going to be the whole production, how much is going to cost to maintain it, air for 6, 7, 8 months, etc., which is really important. Then the delivery dates, like I mentioned, is a live television, so it needs to be very clear, and if the production company can't promise to deliver the live television when it's supposed to air, it's gonna become a problem. And the specific relevant experience, this television show usually costs millions of dollars, so of course they're not going to they're not going to just give that money to someone who doesn't have experience. So of course the semi-sole source is really important, because you are somebody's recommending you, but at the same time you need to have the experience to produce a multi-million-dollar show. Okay, so negotiation. This is very common in the industry. Like I mentioned, it's a friendly environment. They want to maintain the close relationship, because it's not going to be the last project. They're going to work together, they're going to keep working on project throughout the years. So maintaining the close relationship and brotherhood in a way is really important for this type of negotiations. The most used tactics, of course, is fair and reasonable both party wins, friendship maintains the same, all the contracts, all the negotiations, they define who gets the credit for this, who got the credit for that, and everything goes very smooth. The other tactic, which is very rough but is very common on the business, is the delay negotiation, because usually the independent production companies don't have the budget to simply let go of a contract with a television network, and the television network has a deadline to air the television. So of course they try to reduce prices and everything by delaying the project. But in a way, you see how the independent production companies actually fight for that, and they start reducing their budget to maybe allow the America television to fund that money faster and produce the television show sooner. And also is the fait accompli, which is another rough negotiation tactics, but it's, I mean, welcome to the entertainment business. People dream to work with them, with the big studios. So of course, you want to sell your idea, you want to become famous, you know. This is very much applied through executives, through the independent production companies, and usually more applied in the first seasons of the show because it's something new. But then you can restructure your contracts in the other seasons of the TV show, because now you have more famous and you know that usually the TV network depends on you in a way. The other important points, the last two important points here, is data analysis. Why is so important? Because of rating. Rating television is like the gold that they need to find, because that's what brings them their money, that's what they gives them the status. So of course with the rating they have to do a performance review and an air value analysis of this, which is the rating. The performance review is mostly the rating, and the air value analysis is usually made from how much money you invested on the show, when we're talking about budget of course, how much money you invested on the show, how much money you pay Pro TV for the show, and how much money are you getting back now in advertisement for. So that's a very important point when it comes to the data analysis of a television show. And finally, when you close procurement and the work performance information, I'm just going, there's a whole new other topic of how you may need to close a procurement of a television show, and how you may measure that. But usually what they do is at the end of the television show they buy the format for a 6-month window, and they air the final season, the final episode of the season. If they see that the rating was very good, that the earned value was more as expected, of course they're going to try to renew the show for a new season, because they know it's going to be more successful now. They of course also measure the amount of fan base the show had and how much money they won with the advertisement. So of course here they center most on how much rating they had and their choice to decide if to renew the show or to cancel the show. This show of EEG is one of the most successful here in Peru, and this has been almost for 10 years. They bought the format for 1 year. The show in 6 months was so good that they had to rethink the show to last more, add more games, all the change requests that didn't come in the first procurement, like I said. And of course they became a little bit more legal. They started putting more insurance, adding the quality of the content for the workers' unions and for the rating. So everything kept adding, and right now they haven't closed procurement. They keep doing the show in a way, but each year they close the procurement for that year, see how the rating is doing, and seeing if they had the chance to maybe go 1 year more with the show. So I really hope you like and structure my presentation. It's been a great class for me. I learned a lot, and I hope everything is doing good and you stay safe in these rough times, and it was a pleasure to study from your knowledge. Thank you so much, Professor. Bye.